Well, hello. Good evening. Welcome to When Wisdom Talks. I'm Alisha.
And I'm Kadesha.
And I'm Naomi. And welcome to When Wisdom Talks with your trio from Wisdom on the Wall. Hey.
I love it.
Thank you so much for joining. Oh, we see those numbers going up. So thank y'all so much for tuning in.
Yes.
We love y'all so much. This is another episode in our month of May. We can't believe it's May already, y'all. I don't know what's going on with this year. Y'all tell me. I don't know.
It's flying
so fast. But you know what? We here, right?
Amen.
Yes.
We are here. So thank you again so much for joining. You all know how much we love you and appreciate you for tuning in and week out, month in and month out now, which means we're getting some shows under our belts here. And we're so excited about it. So thank you. And also we need to let you know that this and all other episodes are sponsored by Be Inspired Global and Wisdom on the Wall. And as always, we have to let you know what our mission is, and that is to empower women and men to live better and wiser through engaging discussions, fun activities, and inspiring special guest interviews. And so with that, I'm going to kick it on over to Kadesha.
Hey, ladies. Well, first and foremost, I got to give Alisha a shout out for her new hairstyle.
Yes.
I love it.
Living boldly in the Lord.
Absolutely. And I got to give my cousin a shout out for my t-shirt, Fearless. And look, I don't even remember the scripture. Deuteronomy 31:8 is on there.
Love it.
Go ahead and put your website in the chat, please. Blink.
Yes. I like that.
We love supporting our local businesses. And so, yes, definitely have to give them a shout out. But I'm excited for tonight. We are definitely in for a treat. Yeah. I was thinking Naomi was saying she went to the dentist with the kids earlier. I went to the dentist a few weeks ago. And one place that we do not love going to is the dentist or the doctor. So prayerfully, you like coming to us. So tonight we're going to do a wellness check-in, a checkup, or check-in, however you want to say. And the three of us are your special guests tonight. We just want to tackle some areas that we believe that us as women sometimes forget to check in on, right? And so we want to talk about your mental wellness. We want to talk about how your family's doing. We want to talk about how your finances is doing. So we're going to do all of that in this episode, and somehow we're going to squeeze it all in 60 minutes.
We'll get it done.
I have faith in us.
Yes.
But before we get into the show, of course, we want to actually go ahead and share this page. Somebody may need to hear some wisdom nuggets, okay? So go ahead and share the show. Make sure you like us on Instagram and on YouTube at When Wisdom Talks. Don't forget, Monday evenings at 6:30 p.m., Wednesday mornings at 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We are praying. We're empowering you. And you can join those conference calls by dialing 712-432-0075. That code is 187975. If somebody can type that in the chat for me, I greatly appreciate it. We also have an awesome book, Wisdom on the Wall, and you can purchase that at wisdomonthewall.com. If you or anybody you know or somebody you don't know want to advertise with us and be a sponsor, be a partner, join us in the work that we're doing, you can contact us at info@wisdomonthewall.com. If you need a prayer request, if you need somebody to chat with, or if you just want to send us some encouragement, because we like and we need encouragement as well.
Amen.
You can do all of that at info@wisdomonthewall.com. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to send it over to my girl Alisha for our Girl What's Your Story segment.
Yes, thank you, Kadesha. And like you said, this is our Girl What's Your Story with a twist. Oh, goodness. Yes, we love this particular segment because it gives you an opportunity to see what it is that we're kind of doing, that we're enjoying, just to give you another way to get a peek into who we are. But the twist, as we say, is we want to know what's going on with you as well. We want to interact with you. We want to get to know all of you better. And what an easy way to do it than by sharing the things that we did over this past week that we enjoyed. So I'll go ahead and kick this one off. And I guess this was a good movie week for me. I'll put it that way. So, oftentimes when I'm doing a lot of work in preparation for the upcoming week, I'll have the TV on kind of as like what they call it, white noise in the background. And it turns out I had it on TV One and a movie came on. I don't think it's new. It's probably been around for a little minute, but it was new for me. And it was called For the Love of Ruth. And okay, good. So, and let me just say, I ended up watching a movie and not doing the work that I was supposed to be doing. But what I so enjoyed was that it was actually based on the book of Ruth. Now, I didn't know this going in. So I'm like watching this and I'm like, wow, this seems like the book of Ruth. And then it just kind of hit me like, okay, this is obviously what it's based on. But what I enjoyed about it was that it was a modern day version of it. And the whole cast was African American. So it was just so cool in that it was like the setting was Atlanta, Georgia. They had Naomi, and Naomi was played by Loretta. I know, right? Loretta Devine. And the two women who played Orpah and the other one was Ruth. I've seen them in other things, but I just don't know their names. But it was just great because in this, Ruth is actually a woman who grew up in the foster system. She never got adopted, so she kind of aged out of it and never really knew the love of a family and ended up running into Naomi, Loretta Devine, and just being captivated by the love of God. And that's really what it should be about, people being able to see the Lord in us. And it just follows their story. But it was just so cool because when it started out, Naomi's husband was already deceased. And then the two, Orpah and Ruth, they ended up marrying her sons and they ended up passing away. But what was so cool was the ending. Instead of it being Boaz, his name was Braxton. And I just love how Ruth and Braxton got together. It was, spontaneous. It wasn't set up, so to speak. Neither one of them were thinking that way. But I enjoy the fact that, you can show a Christian story and make it modern, where people who don't even know what they're watching are watching and can feel the love of God throughout that storyline. So that's what I enjoyed this weekend. If you haven't had a chance to check it out, check the schedule on TV One and check it out when they run it again. So it is For the Love of Ruth.
Okay.
Right. So what were you two enjoying over this past week?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay, I was excited to jump in because quite naturally, I wanted to use my time to talk about and recap my Mother's Day weekend. So first, I want to say happy belated Mother's Day to my girls here and all of the mothers out there. I hope you all enjoyed your weekend. I certainly did. I always make it my business to just be intentional, to just enjoy whatever is done for me, not to put too much pressure on it, but to just really enjoy it. And so I did. And one of the highlights is that I received a lot of wonderful cards this go round. I told y'all about the pre-Mother's Day card I got last week.
Yes.
This time on the actual day, I got a lot of wonderful cards. And so one of the ones I got, which I really love, because y'all already know that I love who?
Wonder Woman.
Oh my goodness. So my family, I love them. Thank you so much. My husband and my children actually bought this wonderful Wonder Woman card for me. It says You've always been so much more than just a mom. And it has a whole bunch of little things in it that describe who I
No.
am to them as a mother,
Oh, I
as
love
a
it.
wife to my husband.
Love
And then I'm not necessarily a flower person, but if I am gonna go for flowers, I like to go for calla lilies.
it. Oh,
Mhm.
pretty.
For one thing, they last so long, they smell so sweet, and
Oh, I
these
love it.
they're so vibrant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still, I got this on Sunday, and here it is
Mhm.
Still
Thursday,
looks
and they're
good.
still thriving. I have them in my office next to the window so they can get plenty of light. I am not a green thumb. I
No
have
green thumb
not,
over there.
Even though your nails are green, honey.
even though my nails are green, that is correct. But I have not, rather, a green thumb. So we're just look. This is hanging on by a prayer, y'all. This little
Right over
calla
it.
lily, this little calla lily has a lot of it has a lot of determination to live. I
Oh,
must
goodness.
say. So I had a great Mother's Day, and then I ended the day by shopping and finding a couple of
Yeah.
deals on some things that I really wanted. So there you have
Woo-hoo.
it. I had a great Mother's Day, and
That's
I'm
good.
grateful, and I'm
Yeah.
so grateful to my children who make me a mother. So
Yeah.
Oh, love it.
Without
Woo.
them, it wouldn't be possible, right?
I
exactly.
know, right?
That's funny. So I know you were supposed to go back to the graveyard. Did you make it back there as well?
I did not. So when I called, they still needed to make the preparations for putting a
Okay.
marker down and things like that for me to go and visit my mom's site. So
Mhm.
I called back this week and did all the follow ups, and they are working diligently to make sure everything is appropriate for me when I do go to visit her. Because
Mhm.
in the end, what I really want to do is give her a proper memorial where she has a
Mhm.
really beautiful headstone and something
Yeah.
that really represents the life that she lived. And so I'm patiently waiting. I am, and I am grateful that they're working with me to make sure everything is appropriate when I get there because it's nothing like you wanting to go visit a loved one and things are out of order when
Yeah.
you go
Yeah.
to a grave site. So I'd prefer for them to do what they need to do, and then
I
when I
know that's right.
go, everything is in place. So
Yes.
Amen.
yes, indeed.
Awesome.
Well,
Cool
I got all excited, Alicia, because I was thinking that the movie you were talking about was the movie that I was thinking about. But actually, my movie was different, but it's very similar.
Uh-huh.
Um, if you haven't seen it yet, it's called To Hell and Back, and that's
Oh.
basically a modern day version of the Job story.
Oh,
So
wow.
I haven't seen it in a while. I mean, it's like probably For the Love of Rufus, an older one,
Mhm.
but I'm definitely gonna look up that one for sure.
And I'm
But
gonna look at that one.
yeah, I think you can probably find it on YouTube.
Okay.
But I think it was like a TV One special some years ago. But that's why I got excited. I'm like, wait, that's not the movie I know. But
That don't sound familiar.
right. But for me, this week, I guess I've been trying different beauty and wellness products. So
Ooh.
I just wanted to look. We need to start getting
Uh-oh.
paid by some of these people. Okay,
No, that's right.
Speak
Hello.
into existence.
come on now.
Yes.
So I just wanted to show you some of the things I've been using that, kind of aid me in being well and just being relaxed and
Okay.
feeling good. So the main one is so funny. Mike always says I don't open things right, so I didn't. But this soap is just a white bar of soap. I tore the thing off, darn it. But it's called Method Bar Soap. And actually, I was rushing. I was about to get on a call at 8 o'clock, and I'm like, I gotta get some more soap. So I went to Target or Target, as some call it, and we like natural things. So we normally do like black soap, shea soap, African soap, things of that nature. So anyway, I saw this soap. Again, it's called Method Bar Soap, and it is made of coconut, rice milk, and one more thing. Hold on, rice milk and shea butter. And it smells good, it feels good, and I'm going back to get some more. That's
Does the
one.
lather good?
It does lather good. It does lather good. And then so my other one that I tried is the secret lavender and eucalyptus. So for me, I guess I was just so shocked because for me, lavender, like I love lavender, eucalyptus, like
Mhm.
essential oils. I never knew that they had it in a deodorant. So
Mhm.
I just feel so fresh. But it's like it feels relaxing. It's like relaxing is going on your body.
Yeah.
And then the last thing I want to show, this isn't new. I've been using Dr. Till's. Thank you, mother-in-law, who introduced me to Dr. Till's. It's a little bit of a glare, but I love it. This is the body wash. So actually, I did buy this week, but I normally use it for what is it? Like the bath salts and Jesus. What is it that you put in the little like to make the bubble bath?
Oh, bubble bath. Okay.
That's normally what I use, like, when I'm taking a bath. So just kind of going in line with the wellness. I know we're going to hop in it in a minute, but like we got to take care of ourselves, take time for ourselves, make sure we're taking time to take baths, not showers, relax, like slow down. And so these are some of the things that help me do that.
Thanks for sharing.
You're welcome, honey.
Well, thank you much, ladies. Oh my goodness. Learned some little tips there. Thank you much. And thank you all for those who participated in the chat. We so look forward to reading what you shared. And with that, I'm just excited about our next segment, which has been alluded to a little bit. And I'm not going to delay it. So I'm just going to say, take it away, Kadesha.
Yes. So, as you know, the past few months, we've been highlighting national themes that each month like celebrates. And so one of the themes for this month was wellness. And so naturally, women, we wanted to do a check-in, see how we're doing. We're in the 5th month of the year. Oh my goodness, I can't believe it. But we want to make sure that you're taking care of yourself, not just, from going to the doctor in a physical standpoint, but mentally and financially and in terms of your family, relationally, and things of that nature. So this episode, the three of us are just going to do a wellness checkup with you. And so we just want to make sure that your frame of mind is right, your family is right, and your coins.
Yeah.
So,
that paper.
Alisha cannot allow us to do, she won't allow us to do any type of checkup unless money is involved some form or some fashion. So on Tuesday, I've been telling you all these past few weeks, actually we're coming up on the 6th week. I've been having a phenomenal time in our coaching class that we've been doing. And when I tell you, I didn't realize how much I needed to be poured into because I'm doing so much pouring out. And when I tell you I was so emotional on Tuesday, I'm like, Jesus, is this a tear? And it's like, it's supposed to be business, but again, in order to operate in your business, you have to be a whole person in order to operate at a high level.
Absolutely.
And so what we talked about on Tuesday was, what we supposed to talk about was wealth, building wealth, and leaving a legacy. But again, what we believe is that 85% of that, it all starts up here.
Yes.
And so we were talking about limiting beliefs, and honey, I'm like, I hope nobody's seeing because it was on video.
Right.
So it was so much good content about the limiting beliefs. And so what it made me realize is that there's so many things that we have in our head. Hey girl, you came back.
I did too. I was like, what in the world?
You needed a moment.
To your points, Kadesha. Sometimes you have to take those moments. I think I led by example.
You got your moment tonight.
Lord Jesus. But it was just it helped me to realize like how many limiting beliefs that we have like from childhood that we're still married to, or things that we just pick up along the way, right?
Yeah.
So what I want to do is I want to define that word or those words, limited belief. And this is what it is. Limiting beliefs limit your potential, feeding yourself or ourselves small or big lies, which creates a dialogue in your head.
Wow.
So it's like, and we all have them, right? And so what we were doing, we were typing them in the chat. And I'm like, well, dang, here go one. And I was talking to somebody else about it today, and he made a good point stating that some people have more than others, right? So some people have maybe a laundry list of things, and that's how people get stuck. But then some of us may just have one or two, but it just creeps in, and still, again, whether it's small or big, it's still a lie. And we know that the enemy is what? The father of lies.
Come on
So
now.
it was like, okay, we need to address this head on. But the
Mhm.
key is it limits your potential. So
Yeah.
it's not that you don't have the potential. We all have potential. God's given us all gifts. He's given us all talents. He's given
Yeah.
us a measure of faith. But it's like
Mhm.
we have these limited beliefs that tell us I'm not a good mom, or I'm not a good wife, or I'm not a good leader, or I'm too young, or I'm too fat, or I'm too whatever.
Mhm.
We're always talking in our head, right?
Right,
And
right.
so that's what the limited beliefs are. So I want some of y'all to type in the chat for me. What are some of your limited beliefs? What are those things, those lies that you've been telling yourself? Maybe somebody else been telling you, and it end up sticking. And then
Mm.
Alisha and Naomi, what are some of those limited beliefs that you like? You know what? The devil is a liar. I have been telling myself that for too long.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me, like as I'm progressing and moving towards another piece of my business more online, and that's all new for me, I have
Yeah.
to catch myself in terms of what I say. Like I've caught
Mhm.
myself saying, that's not my lane. I don't
Yeah.
usually do that. And I'm
Mhm.
like, no, that is my lane. If God
Mhm.
is putting it in my spirit to
Yeah.
move into that, then he's making it my lane. So
Yes.
that's definitely a big one. And the blessing is, like you were saying, you got to be able to catch these things in their
Mhm.
infancy, because if
Yeah.
you don't and you continue to mull that thing over, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Prophecy.
Yes.
I'm like, no, that is my lane, and I'm
Yeah,
going to
that's
capture that
right.
lane. So
Right.
yes, that's huge.
And that's key because the way we talked about affirmation some weeks ago. So it's
Hmm.
like if you say it's not my lane, that's your affirmation.
Exactly. It won't be. It
You're
won't be a
affirming it.
lane.
You know
Yep.
what I mean? If you're saying, oh, there's not enough time in the day, well, that's your affirmation. So
Hmm.
it's
Hmm.
like you're right. We do have to watch what we say, and it's all about changing your perspective, changing how you see something.
Yes, absolutely.
Because this is just God growing you. God's just gonna grow you online, and this
Yes.
God gonna do it, girl. We've been telling you that forever.
I know that's right.
Yes.
I receive. I receive.
What about you, Naomi?
Yes, there are several that I've noticed over time, and
Mm-hmm.
especially now that I have evolved into being a mother, I'm very
Mm-hmm.
conscious of what I'm doing and what I
Mm-hmm.
am reflecting. So what I've realized too, two things. The first thing is, and my daughter, she noticed it, is that I often put myself down physically. And over the years, I struggled with self-esteem in terms of how I look. As
Mm-hmm.
a kid, I was often made fun of because I had, a larger nose, fuller lips, things
Mm-hmm.
like that. And so and then there were times when I was told that I was ugly. And
Mm.
so over the years, I struggled with that. And even now, I can feel myself picking apart, like, oh, that's a cute outfit, but I wish I could change this or that. And
Mm-hmm.
I often tell my children, don't like, if my daughter is talking about herself, I'm like, don't talk about my daughter. My daughter is beautiful. That's how I refer to her.
I love it.
Or my son, I'm like, don't do that. Don't talk about my son like that.
That's cute.
But they've had to do that for me. Like, remember, mommy, you said, don't talk about yourself,
Mm.
don't put yourself down. And so I have to remember that. So I tell myself every day that I'm beautiful, that
Mm.
I'm worth loving, these things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing that has been a limiting thought for me is when I worked for the federal government, agency will go unnamed, but when I did work for the federal government, I grew up there. So I made a lot of mistakes along the way. I had a lot of wins, but I made some mistakes along the way. I
Mm-hmm.
always knew that I was a leader, but I never
Mm-hmm.
had the right voices helping to mold that. So when I
Right.
left my job and started at my company, Be Inspired Global, that employee mentality that I was telling you all about
Mm-hmm.
followed me. And so
Mm.
as I went into rooms where I should have been stepping up as the CEO, I was acting as the employee. And so I
Mm.
had to remind myself that I am a leader. I am a CEO. This is my business. This is my company. I can set the standards for it. And
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
so as I began to break that down, I've started to see the change, but that was very limiting for me because I
Mm-hmm.
started to believe that I wasn't good enough, or, I'm a whole grown woman. There's no need to act like a little kid.
Come on now.
Act accordingly. When I was a child, I was fake as a child, but but now that I'm an adult, I put away those childish things.
Yeah.
I had to remind myself.
Mm-hmm.
I'll get off of that soapbox now.
But you touched on so much, and the thing, the one of the things that stood out was when you said mistakes, right? And so many of us will make mistakes, and I love how Gary Keller says it. It's just consider it. He says tuition paid, right? So it's like you're getting paid to learn, so to speak. You know what I mean? Like it's okay. We're all human. We're going to make mistakes, and that's one of my limiting beliefs that I didn't even realize was that I'm not perfect, right? So it's like we don't have to be perfect. Like, first of all, that's what God's grace is for. Because he's going to close the gap. He knew we were going to make mistakes. But some of the questions we can ask ourselves when we do fail, because we are going to fail forward, right? And so some of the things we can ask ourselves is, well, what did I do well? Because you didn't do 100% of it wrong.
Right. So that's good.
That you did well. What did I do well? And what did I learn from it? Because everything is a learning lesson. Like, this is what it is. And then what am I grateful for? And so when it comes to those limited beliefs, some of the ways to help to redirect those things is to, one, acknowledge, which is what we're doing now. So we're putting the enemy on Front Street, like, well, yeah, I know that.
Right.
But not just recognize it, see where it came from. And that's when Naomi was starting to talk about, well, okay, it came from a child because they used to tell me I was ugly. It came from where I worked because I made some mistakes because you were young, right? So it's like trace that root of where it came from. And I can't remember who I was talking to. Oh, my cousin, actually, when she was doing my hair. And she was telling me about some pastors, how they started to recognize and write down all the generational curses that they had in their families. And so to me, limited belief is almost equated to a generational curse, because most times it's traced back to, well, my mama did it, my dad did it, and it was, it was put on us. So I was like, oh, that's a good one. Just write it down. That way you can be very intentional about calling that thing out. And so they were doing it as a married couple, because when you get married, it's like, now I'm marrying your generation.
Right. Bringing it together.
Right. But the key is to recognize the limited belief, then trace it. Where did that thing come from? Uproot it, speak to that thing. Even if, sometimes for our parents who are still alive or whomever, I see sometimes like, dang, that limited belief is in my mama's in me too. You know what I mean? So it's like, we got to speak to those things. But then the other thing is just simply replace it with a new thought. So like you, Naomi was saying, I'm, fearfully and wonderfully made. I'm beautiful. Like you got to quickly replace that thing.
Yes.
Right. Don't let it linger. Because I love, my friend always says this. She was like, okay, well, you can't control the first thought, but you definitely can control the second. So it's like, all right, if it comes through, I'm going to catch you. And then we going to redirect this thing. No, I'm cool. God got me. He know I'm going to be late. So he going to make up the time.
But right. No, you bring up a really good point.
Yeah.
I think innately we focus on what we're not doing right, or the mistakes that we made. We put a lot of focus on that instead of rerouting to positive. And if we do that, our outcome could be so much better. There are plenty of times when I've recognized that I'm doing that I'm defaulting to the negative thought, and instead of me changing right then, I put more and more energy into it, and by the end of it, the outcome is exactly what I've been perpetuating in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
We're trying to default to that, I think, innately as humans, is that the negative first.
And that word reroute is so key. I mean, because just think about it. I mean, we all spend a lot of time on the road, and at least where I'm traveling, it's a bunch of construction. It's like detour after detour, and it's like, you get the little orange sign, turn left or whatever, but they reroute you, but you still get to the destination. You know what I mean? Like, you may go about it a different way. You may have to take a different road, take a different highway, but you still get to the destination. And like, that's just with life. Like, okay, well, maybe I didn't Maybe I didn't take Alicia's path. So what?
Right.
God had to reroute something for me. So it's like, I love that word rerouting. And it's really about being intentional, because I could tell after my class that following day, because for me, and I'll just be honest, the enemy messes with me in the morning. So it's like, because he knows I'm already beating myself up if I hit snooze too many times. So it's that's the instant. And so this is what I have to do in the morning to make sure I start my day right, is I look at my notebook. Ooh, there we go.
What is it? New day. Let's say
new day, new mindset, new focus, new intentions, new results. So I have that on my bedside, so I can. That's going to be my first thing that I see. So it's like, okay, I may not have finished my to-do list yesterday, but today's a new day. And so that is my reminder. And then, of course, from there, I go straight into my devotion. But it's like catching those things immediately and then rerouting that thought. And one thing you said that made me think about, I love is, well, it started off as a book and then it turned into a movie. It's called The Shack. And when I saw the movie, it basically kind of depicts Father, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit in human form. And in the movie, like the character of Jesus, it just made me see so clear how much of a friend he is to us. Like he was really cool. Like he was just cool, like somebody you could hang with, like somebody that was chill, that was relaxed. Like he wasn't nitpicky. Like he was just like, well, maybe we should go about it this way. Like it was just like real cool. It just helped me to see like God really is our friend. So like you, Naomi, he's not worrying about the negative and all of that jazz. It's just like, well, maybe you could do it a different way. So it's just like that. We just got to be, I guess more kind to ourselves, because he is already kind enough. But anyway,
I think for me, the biggest thing, and the word has been said on a number of occasions, is being intentional about it. Understanding that it does happen. I mean, because we're human, but again, being intentional about capturing those things, and not just capturing it, but like you said, replacing it with the positive. Because if we leave that space open, something else is going to go back in there, and it may not be that negative thought that we court. It might be another one. So we have to make sure that we fill that I don't want to call it dead space, but fill that with something positive. And again, it kind of goes back to where you were using the word rerouting, but when you were talking about the word mistake, it just made me think of it's always a learning experience. Because if something is negative, you can always find something in that to turn it into a positive. So it always just go back to what we're thinking and what we're reflecting on. And the biggest thing is just, when you were bringing up just the relationship, Jesus, and that is, it's just having that foundation of knowing you can go to him when there is that challenge, and when you're feeling like, this particular day, you may not be feeling beautiful, but being able to talk to him about it and allowing him to reassure you and give that peace, and knowing that you're my daughter, so you are beautiful just because of that, So I just love it. Again, just being intentional, and that is my word for this year: intentionality in every area of my life. So
every area. Kenya put in here. She said she loves the movie and the book, and she said her favorite line was, Jesus says, oh, there it is. Jesus says, are you lost? And then it says, it's okay, because I'm not. So I love that.
That's good.
I love that. And I know you want to talk about family, Naomi, but that's one of the things, like now I'm so intentional about loving and cherishing my family. Like teenage years, 20s. I mean, I wanted to spend a lot of time with my friends, but it's like now I crave my family. So with that, I'm done off my soapbox.
You did a fabulous job.
Yes, that was awesome.
Thank you for the segue into family wellness. Well, of course, first of all, mental wellness, emotional wellness is one of my favorite topics to talk about, because I've had personal connections to it. I've dealt with some issues in that area myself, but especially felt family wellness, because even as a child growing up, I was sort of disconnected from certain members of my family, which kind of set the tone for the rest of my life in terms of the types of relationships that I was connecting with. So that's why family wellness is important. It's also important to develop family wellness even in our young people. If we can start with our young people first, we can kind of foster better and healthier relationships along the way. And so I'm huge on that. I do not claim to be perfect in this area, but I've had a lot of experiences that have
Sure.
helped me to develop some better practices or best practices, if
Mhm.
you will. So I'm going to kind of touch on, and I want you all to just kind of think about this as I'm talking about it. I'm going to do the best I can to kind of fit in
Mhm.
as much information as I can. I'm going to pose some questions just as Alisha will, and just as Kadesha has done. But as I'm talking about this, kind of put yourself in the situation and think about how you can evolve in terms of family wellness. So a couple of things that I'm going to touch on really quickly is talking about the reasons why families fight and why they have
Mm.
conflict in the first place. So before we can even talk about the solution, you have to talk about the problems. And a lot of times that's the hardest thing to do with family, because we love them, because we're close to them, because we're familiar with them. We don't necessarily touch on those reasons and those causes for conflict and issues within the family. The
Mhm.
other part I'm going to talk about is quality time. What does that mean? When we were planning for this, I thank Kadesha because she kind of inserted some questions about how do we check in with our family, but I think that's important, especially because of COVID. Okay, so all of us, let's just level set. All of us have been affected by COVID in
Yeah.
terms of relationships,
Yeah.
family, and connection. It
Mhm.
has, in some ways, distorted how we communicate with each other. So now
Absolutely.
we have to define what quality time looks like. And that could be different from one person to the other. Let's
Yeah.
be clear
Right.
on that.
Mm-hmm.
What's quality to me may not be quality to Kadesha, may not be quality to Alisha.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to give you a couple of tips on how to spend quality time. What does that look like, and how you can kind of amplify that in your own life? So I know we had some questions because I want to kind of get you thinking in terms of what all of this looks like for you. So what are some of the major causes of family conflict in your own life? So I'm gonna pose that to the audience, and
Mhm.
then I'm gonna have Alisha and Kadesha kind of chime in and give their input.
Okay.
So you said ask it again.
Okay. Yes. So, what are some of the family conflicts or things that have caused family conflict in your families?
Do you
Oh.
want us to answer while you're waiting for people to chime in?
Yeah, yes, I
Is
want you
that
to do that. Yeah, because I,
okay?
I I want the audience to chime in. So giving them time to think about it,
Yep.
or giving
Mm-hmm.
them the courage to put it in there. But in your experience, what are some of the conflicts that you have seen, or what are some of the causes for the
Mhm.
conflicts that you've seen in your own families?
I think for me, the biggest thing is miscommunication.
Mhm.
Where one person may have said something and somebody may have taken it the other way, and then it
Mhm.
kind of gets blown out of proportion versus
Mhm.
going back to the source and just confirming, did you mean it this way? This is how I understood what you say to mean. Is that what
Mhm.
it is? So I think
Mhm.
miscommunication, misunderstanding intentions, actions, and words are
Mhm.
the biggest culprits I've seen.
That's
Mhm.
good. That's true. I'll get into it a little bit more because I don't want to give away too much. But that is a huge one, Alisha. You hit the nail right on the head. What
And
about
I,
you, Kadesha?
and I think for me, like even the blended family factor, right?
Yes.
Mhm.
So bringing on people, so marriages take place, but then divorces, right? So that dismantles things,
Mhm.
and now we got to figure out how to do holidays and how to do Mother's Day, and everybody's
Mhm.
trying to be everywhere to people please, essentially, because we're not all one big happy family, and what family is,
Right.
right? But
Yes.
I think those types of things, and then just naturally having blended families, people were raised on one thing. People were raised. Some people people always make fun of us, and I remember even one of my roommates and friends from college would always say, "Y'all always loving, hugging, and kissing. Like that's just how we roll. That's the
Mhm.
type of family we are." But then everybody else may not be as lovey or as touchy, or so it's just the different dynamics of just having blended families. I think that's kind of been one, and of course, sometimes money can be an issue too.
You're right. I'm going
Sure.
to share one
Definitely.
comment from our audience. Kenya, thank you, Kenya. You are doing a
Mm,
fabulous job
Go ahead,
participating
Kenya.
and holding it down. Thank you so much. So Kenya said hurt feelings, being
mm.
unable to accept criticism or forgiveness. And I
Oh,
think
that's
that's
good.
key. I think that's something that I'm going to touch on talking about being able to convey your feelings and having a safe space in which to do that. But that is so important. Kayla also says not holding ourselves accountable.
That's good.
Accountability, Kayla, absolutely is a
Yes.
huge part when it comes down to family conflict and how we deal with
Mhm.
that. So I'm just
Mhm.
going to give you a couple. So you two, y'all are on fire, and thank you, Kenya and Kayla, because y'all are too. Y'all definitely hit on some that is on this list. So as I was kind of preparing for this discussion, I found, now let's be clear, because Alisha is going to help us in this area. But the number one reason for a lot of family conflicts and fights is what?
Mm,
Money. The
mhm,
point.
mhm,
A lot of times, money can cause a lot of issues when families start to borrowing from one another or
mm.
misunderstandings on, and especially in marital situations, on how one saves and one spends. Or just listen, okay,
Yeah,
and that's a whole subject on
girl,
itself.
that's a whole topic.
And Alicia, she don't want to have that discussion with
I
you.
just taught that today via Zoom. Money and
Really?
relationships. Yep.
Wow. See, it was meant to be. And somebody on here needs to hear this on today, right? Also, family business. Now, this one stood out to me because my husband and I are in business together. And we do see how, if you're not careful and if you don't set those boundaries, being in business with family can cause a huge rift if you're not communicating those boundaries or communicating mutual understandings and even the basis for your business. Those differences can really cause some conflict there. And then you hit on this too, Kadesha, when you talked about step parent and stepchild conflict. That one
Mm,
was named by itself because, believe it or not, if you do your research domestically, step parent and stepchild conflict is one of the top things that causes conflict. Because, for one thing, as you mentioned, Kadesha, already, you said so beautifully, is that when you're introducing different members to a family, and this could be a new sibling or even the birth of a child or a friend. You hear some who are dating, like parents who are dating, to say, I don't want to bring in my spot or my significant other yet because I don't want to infringe on the relationship with my children or cause a conflict. That's a real thing. And I think people have to consider that it's not being selfish or secretive or anything.
right.
It's about protecting your space and your family, because at the end of the day, who do you go home to? The people in your household, the people that you deal with on a regular basis. Another one, we're going to do this very quickly because I do want to talk about quality time. Divorced parents conflict. And usually that has a lot to do with how we're raising the kids, the co-parenting part. A lot of parents don't see eye to eye on that. They may need mediation, and I will say sometimes getting the courts involved can be like so harsh, but it's a reality and it
Sometimes you need it.
conflict, right? Lack of communication. Okay, let me park there for 1 minute. Will y'all allow me to do that? Just for 1 minute. Let me park there because I think what the issue is, and Kenya also touched on it a bit when she talked about hurt feelings. And hurt feelings usually comes from the harboring of those feelings. We hold on to them for so long, and we don't feel in some instances that we have the safe space to be able to communicate how we really feel about things. And so I think as family members, being accountable, that we have to create safe spaces within our family where we feel comfortable with sharing those things, right? Okay. So, okay, what we see? We got some private chat things. See, I can't do two things at once. I gotta read these private chats.
Girl, go ahead. We got this covered.
Okay, all right, cool. Y'all know me. I'm a realist, so I got to take my time reading this thing. Okay, let's do the private chat. We got okay. All right. Okay. We don't want me rushing. Okay. I'm going to take my time. Thank you, Kadesha. We're going to
Well,
take
I
our
don't think that was for you.
That's what Alicia. We don't want Alicia rushing. We got
Okay.
the Holy Spirit got it. Come
Okay,
on.
we don't want Alisha rushing. Yeah, I don't want you to rush because what you got to say is good. Okay.
Oh my gosh, you are
But
funny.
it's kind of hard because these topics, they can get very, very
They need to be separate.
Exactly. So I will wrap it up. Thank you. What is that? The little what you call it? The little hook. Y'all was at Apollo on the Showtime at the Apollo.
You let the spirit move you.
But no, with that being said, and I think it's important that we create these safe spaces within our environments where we feel safe to communicate. And what I love is Jean and Lolo kind of touched on it last week, but they were right, especially for children and adults too. Don't exclude yourself. You need to have a safe space where you can convey how you're feeling to your loved ones. Does that mean they're always going to receive it well? No, but you do have to be able to share it, because if you don't, those feelings get harbored. So there's a communication. Two more: jealousy and insecurities. Woo, that's a mouthful. That is a mouthful. And also growing children within a family. So this is typically a hard one, because when children are changing, they're going through puberty, that's a natural conflict. Ask me how I
hormones.
That's a natural conflict, because they're trying to feel their independence out. They're trying to figure out who they are in the world and the whole 9 yards. So that's that list. I think that is a lot for us to consider. We're going to have to do a part 2 so we can talk about the solutions versus the problems. We're definitely going to have to do that. But one question for y'all before I go into quality time. What does quality time mean to you? What does that mean to you? And what are the ways you spend quality time with your family? You can give one quick answer.
So for me, it's time. That's easy, right? So I get the whining. That's, I'm going on 11 years married. And, I would get the whining with Mike if I didn't have enough time. So for me, it's time. Even if we don't have to be talking, we don't have to be having no long dissertation, no long conversation. I'm fine with just us being in the same room, on the same couch, us rubbing each other's toes. But I just like time. And, so time.
I would have to agree. I think it's all about just carving out that time, and in carving out the time, you make the other person or other people feel like they're worthwhile, that they're worthy. So, and vice versa. When people carve out time for you, it makes you feel special. So I really think Kadesha hit on it with just spending the time.
Yeah, I think somebody else said that. Kayla said watching a movie.
Yeah, that's good too. Yep.
So sometimes it's just as basic as that. I think people take it. I think with quality time, people think too hard about it. It doesn't have to be difficult. And really, what the basis of quality time is togetherness. Just around togetherness. People just want to know that you're there for them and you can be with them. And sometimes that's it, really, in a nutshell, is that the togetherness piece. And so really it's about being creative, figuring out really fun ways to spend time with each other. Don't focus on quantity more than quality. Come up with a plan, make a date, whatever it is, because the thing is you want to be with that person. That's it.
That's it.
You cut it off there because I want to get into this financial wellness, and I want us to have enough time to do it. I can't.
Oh my goodness gracious, help me. I love it. Look, I've been enjoying both of the topics, but it definitely shows that each one of these topics demand a session in and of itself, because to really do it the justice. But when we talk about wellness and we talk about financial wellness just really boils down to effectively being able to handle our money positively without stress. That's all we really want, is to be able to have the tools, to be able to know exactly what I need to do, when I need to do. So when I want to do, I have the money to do it. That's what it boils down to. So, when we talk about this whole topic of financial wellness, I actually want to just start it off with a question, and we could pose it in the chat, but also have you two answer it. But when you think about it, when you look at today, what would you say are the most pressing issues financially that people are dealing with today?
Mm.
Well, I mean, today is different, honestly, because some people can't even buy food. I
Mm-hmm,
mean,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
it's if the basic needs aren't met, people are going crazy. So
mm-hmm,
I would say food. But
mm-hmm,
then another thing I think about on a grander scale is just people worrying about retirement and
mm-hmm.
sending their kids to college.
Yes, those are huge, huge. What would you say, Naomi?
I think, given the circumstances, the means by which to earn
Mm-hmm,
income is challenging
Mhm,
mm-hmm,
for a lot of
mhm,
people because, of course, with COVID, jobs are limited. A lot of jobs have
mhm,
gone completely away,
mm-hmm.
and so
mhm,
people are trying to figure creative ways to get money. But that's it. Like money answereth all things. If you have it, have it. You don't have it, you can't do some of the things that you need to do. So
mhm,
Absolutely. And
yeah,
you both hit it on the nail right there.
yeah,
Biggest thing obviously is the income, because you need the income to be able to do what Kadesha was saying, being able to save for the college, be able to save for the retirement, and to eat, just like you said. But when we talk about financial wellness, just really some quick tips about it. First and foremost, you have to have goals in place. I always kind of equate it to when it comes to our physical well-being, when it comes to losing weight, or ramping up the things that we do physically. There's a goal, there's something that we want to achieve. So Kadesha threw out a couple of them: college,
mhm,
retirement, but also
mhm,
you think about some other goals, whether it's to build up an emergency fund. That's
mhm,
huge, because when we think about some of the things that you mentioned as issues for people today, with that emergency fund in place, if that income wasn't stable, we had people lose their jobs unexpectedly. That
yeah,
that emergency fund being in place, you're still able to live life like you normally would for several months. But one thing, when we talk about that emergency fund, one thing I just want people to get in mind now, because at one point we always talked about having like 3 to 6 months worth of living expense money. But how long
mhm,
have we been in a pandemic now?
mhm. Longer
over
than a
Well,
year.
over a year
Lord
now.
have
So
have
we go
mercy.
back, it's like, and we're still in it, right? But
Mhm.
kind of going back to that whole beliefs when we started off with Kadesha, just we're going to have to change our beliefs and our understanding and our mindset when it comes to just something as simple as the emergency fund. It can't no longer be that 3 to 6 months. We need to be looking at 9 to 12 months. And it's not to make people feel like, oh my God, I'll never do it. It's just getting started. So again, just putting those goals in place and putting that emergency fund in place. But the other thing is, when we talk about it, is just making sure that we're able to put that budget in place, because
Mhm,
really the budget is the thing that's going to carry you through. What I
Yes.
tell people all the time is, when you think about that budget, that's your spending plan. So, when we can spend, we feel good about it. So it's
Yeah.
like financial wellness. If I actually have in place how I'm going to spend my money, it makes you feel good, because you're able to effectively handle your money. I know, like for me, having my budget in place, and when money comes in, all I do is go back and look at that budget, and what's the next thing on the list that I need to pay. And it just
mhm,
becomes a no-brainer. So you don't have to stress, you know exactly what needs to be done when it needs to be done. And the other piece of it is, when we're talking about financial wellness, sometimes we can't do it on our own. We always want that, what is it, the DIY, do it yourself.
mhm,
Sometimes you may need to bring in somebody, bring in an
mhm,
expert, whether it's with the family. You need somebody that is a counselor, or with the limited beliefs, needing
mhm,
a life coach or a business coach. It's the same with our finances. We may need to bring in that expert to be able to offer some advice, to be able to
right.
say, come in and say, you know what, this is where you are, and this is where you want to go. This is how you get there. Because oftentimes we become so emotional about it, and money
Mhm,
is one of those things that is very emotional. I tell people, money is as emotional as sex. Most people don't just talk about their sex life. Most people don't just talk about their finances, because they are very personal and very emotional things. So you talk about Naomi, like causing the fights and stuff. That is one area, like you said, it can cause fights. So if you want to eliminate, or at least reduce the conflicts in the family, everybody need to come on board, and that's children included. You can't just have mom and dad, or if it's a single parent, just a parent, you have to now pass these things on to your children, because I'm sure each one of us will agree, if we knew what we know now about finances, if we knew it earlier, a lot of and we're not going to call them mistakes, we're going to call them learning experiences. A lot of the learning experiences we had, we would never had to have learned that, because we would have known what to do. So when we are parents, biological, or you have other people that is in a spirit, godmom or whatever, or even adoption, whatever way you have children in your world, it's incumbent upon us as adults to be able to pass on what we know, and what we don't know, make it fun. As a family, we can learn this together. Just being honest as the adult and saying, I necessarily don't know that, but you know what, we're going to learn it together. So it's just finding ways to make it fun for children, because I think we have to get beyond of it's just being about me, especially when there's children in the household. We have to learn to create. I think it was you, Kadesha, earlier, using the word legacy. We have to start thinking legacy, and the only way you're going to have a legacy is you're able to pass it on to the next generation. So financial wellness is huge, because I always use the term, our health is our wealth, and our wealth is our health. If we're not healthy in either one of those areas, it becomes an issue. Most people who are not healthy in terms of their finances, their physical well-being kind of deteriorates, because they're not able to buy the right foods, as you talk about with the foods and things of that nature, can't do the things to relax the body. So it's so many areas that our financial well-being will actually impact relationships, our mentality, because when we're in debt, we're stressed. So we're not able to be a blessing to other people because we're thinking about the financial situation. So the key thing is making sure that we put the foundation in place. And I guess I do have one last question I do want to ask. Outside of investing, everybody always talks about investing that they want to learn more about. But what are some topics do you think people really want to understand more about when it comes to their finances, that they believe will make them feel better? They'll feel more well financially if they knew about it.
Ooh.
Well, I want to say definitely this is something good that y'all need to respond in the chat, because based upon your answer, Alisha may teach on it.
That's good.
Being in real estate, I feel like a lot of people want to know how to boost their credit score.
That's huge.
And that is, if you ain't got cash, you definitely need to have good credit. So to me, it goes hand in hand, in terms of boosting financial, because it gives you access. That's what good credit does.
It does,
gives you access to finances. So I would say how to boost your credit.
That's huge. It is really important today. Yep. You hate to say it, but that score makes a difference. And that report is a report of your character, as they say, your financial character. Absolutely. It'll be interesting to see what people put in the chat, because this is an area that we need to hit on when it comes to all the things that we talked about tonight.
We do. And I think you guys are right. Like we're definitely going to have to revisit this and give maybe one session one topic per session, because this is so much we can talk about.
Yeah.
What about you, Naomi?
Oh, I think knowing how much of your income to designate to investing and saving, because that can get tricky without messing with your monies that you need to live off of and survive. So it's knowing those numbers, because it can get confusing. And if you know some of the people I know, they love investing so much. So sometimes you can get a little investment happy versus enough to be able to survive and live off of.
And really there's and again, that could go to another level. But, you got to know when it's time to invest. I'm gonna just leave it at that, because that becomes a whole thing in and of itself. So awesome.
Part two. See,
somehow, see how we did that? We done got through 60 minutes and remember the show 60 Minutes? Okay, let me move on.
It's still out there. It's still there.
Oh, okay, my bad. So, well, ladies and gentlemen, if we have any out there, we are winding down. We are coming up on that 9:00 hour. Okay. We hope that you had learned something, that you took some notes. that you grew in some way or fashion. And I think that's essentially the whole purpose of our show. We just want to give you wisdom nuggets so you can grow. And so I just want to end with this I guess acronym, since we're talking about wellness and checking in and all that stuff, because none of us are where we want to be, right? But we thank God that He gives us grace. And so I would
Yeah.
just encourage you to extend grace to yourself, because God definitely gives us enough grace. And so the acronym for grace is just growing in wisdom, rerouting. Thank you, Naomi, when things don't go our way. Acknowledging, when there's something in your life that you want to change, commit to the process, and then E is just embrace the new journey. So
That's good.
we are so
That
excited
was
that
good.
we was able to empower you tonight. We look forward to seeing you next Thursday, 8 o'clock, same time. Come back with a friend. But we love you lots. And in the interim, we just want you to stay in faith, stay safe, and stay blessed.
Good night.
Bye, y'all.